All right, welcome. Hello to all parents and caregivers. Thank you for joining us today at this session. We hope you're enjoying today's conference so far. Okay, so before we begin, we would like to start with the land acknowledgement. So the land we are meeting on is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13, signed with the Mississaugas of the Credit, and the Williams Treaties, signed with the multiple Mississaugas and Chippewa bands. So, welcome to our session today on play as a foundation for engagement and learning. My name is Julie Chuli, and I am a physiotherapist with the Toronto District School Board, also known as TDSB.
Hi, I'm Anna Lynn, and I'm an occupational therapist also with the TDSB.
So for those of you who don't know, we, Anna and myself, are TDSB OTs and PTs, and we come from the occupational therapy and physiotherapy services, and we provide support to various programs, including developmental disabilities, physical disabilities, diagnostic kindergarten classes, and we also have lots of teams that support inclusion within the TDSB. Before we go on, Anna, we just want to mention that this session is being recorded. So if you would like to turn off your cameras, please do so. But we also more than welcome to keep your cameras on. So today, what are we going to be looking? We will go over what is play, and we'll also be reviewing what the stages of play are and why they are important. Play develops over time, and through various stages, we will walk through and talk through these stages and how they develop and understanding why it's important and how our children learn to play. We'll discuss some activities that you can try and within the various stages of play. And we know that sometimes as parents and caregivers, sometimes it's really draining and it takes a lot of energy. So hopefully we can give you some simple tips on how to engage your child to play. Throughout the stages, we'll suggest some household objects for play. So don't worry about going out to buy new toys. Rather, let's try to think of how to keep things simple. Use things around your house and, of course, keep it more cost effective. Anna and I are hoping to provide you with all this information in a more conversational dialogue. So please save your questions till the end, where we hope that you can enjoy and join us in a little bit of a conversational dialogue. Once again, this session is being recorded. So, Anna, what is play?
Well, there are many definitions of play and types of play, and play can sometimes be really hard to define as it looks different for everyone. Play can be spontaneous, it can be organized, it can vary in the level of participation, but always, play is an activity that we choose to engage in and provides enjoyment.
But Anna, what if my child just isn't interested in playing with me?
Well, sometimes your child's play might look different than what you consider typical play. Their interests might be unique. They can also be at a stage of play that looks different than what you might consider play.
Okay, so then why do we need to play? Isn't it more important to focus my time and energy on reading and writing and mathematics and, of course, doing things like homework?
Well, those things are important, Julie, but you got to remember that play is a critical part of a child's development and learning. It helps children to make sense of the world around them, expand their social and cultural understanding. It allows them to express their thoughts and feelings. They learn and practice planning and problem solving. Play also helps a child consider other people's perspectives, and they helps them to develop self-control and self-regulation. It expands their language and literacy skills, and it also enhances their motor development. Did you know that play is also important for mental health? It's been shown to reduce stress and anxiety for everyone.
I guess so. after playing with my child, Anna, I feel definitely calmer, feel less stressed, and then I'm in a better state to learn and engage with others. And of course, do household chores like cook dinner and do the vacuum and all those other household things that I need to do.
Exactly, Julie. It's hard to learn and do our daily activities when we're feeling stressed for sure. So, Julie, let's talk about the first and many stages of play. Each stage of play is beneficial for development and will help your child learn about themselves and the world around them. The stages that we'll talk about today are sensory, solitary, onlooker or watching, parallel, associative and social, cooperative, and pretend play.
Wow, that's a lot of different stages. And of course, as I'm listening and learning, will I be able to notice and recognize some of the stages that my child is in? And then also think of ideas on how we can engage them in that environment through those different stages?
Yes, of course, Julie. Okay, so we're going to take a closer look at each stage, and then we can really understand what play looks like and how to have fun with your child in each stage of play. Okay, let's start with sensory play. This type of play focuses on interacting with the world primarily through our senses. And those senses include touch, taste, hearing, sight, smell, and our sense of balance, movement, and internal cues. This might look like playing with water, sand, or twirling objects in their hands. Through this play, children learn about the world around them and make sense of many new things that they're experiencing every day. Engaging in this kind of play can help create connections in the brain that builds foundations for cognitive, motor, and language development. This particular kind of play can be great for helping calm children who are upset or stressed.
Okay, so then how do you engage your child to play at this very early sensory play stage?
Well, Julie, that's a good question. They might enjoy exploring different textures, such as Play Doh or shaving cream on a tray. You could give them a spray bottle and let them spray water in a bathtub or outside. You can put dried beans, rice, shredded paper, or sand in a container and create a sensory bin for them to play with.
I guess you would have to supervise or be careful with things that you put in or choose if your child likes to explore with their mouth.
For sure, that's true, especially with children who like to put objects in their mouth.
Okay, well, what else can I do?
Bubbles. Bubbles are a hit with many children. If you blow them, you can enjoy chasing them, clapping them with their hands, trying to catch them. Water play in the bathtub is also a great idea. In the sink, too, or in a bin, or even try washing a car outside. It's so much fun for so many children.
And sometimes my child just wants to play with the same thing over and over and over again and can spend the entire day in the sand pit.
Julie, that's common doing things over and over again, and that's okay. Children learn through repetition. Repeating these activities helps them strengthen their learning and continue to build on their skills with confidence. For example, the child that plays with bubbles, they can coordinate their visual and motor systems to pop the bubbles with their hands. They learn cause and effect. When you catch the bubble, it pops. They learn visually scanning and following directions when they're looking up and down, when the bubbles float. And lastly, when they catch the bubbles and clap them with their hands, they get touch input. And this also builds their sense of body awareness.
Hmm, what's next?
So the next type of play is called solitary play. This type of play is where your child plays alone, usually with a preferred toy.
So, wait a sec. So, shouldn't I be encouraging my child to play with others instead of with the same toy and by themselves all the time?
Not necessarily, Julie. There's still many benefits to this type of play. When your child plays by themselves, they're not only building independence, but developing their preferences, interests, creativity, imagination, and concentration. Through solitary play, children are exploring and figuring things out on their own.
Anna, that does sound important. How should I encourage a solitary play?
Well, I'm glad you asked, Julie. There's ways to help you encourage your child with solitary play. You can set up the environment with toys that interest them and supervise for safety, of course. For example, set out some cars, some trains, or puzzles that might be enticing to your child. You know what your child best and you know what they enjoy the most. You can also hide various toys and sensory bins, like I was talking about earlier. Also, you can provide sidewalk chalk for drawing or coloring outside, or even set up a craft table and provide some paint, paintbrushes, markers, paper glue, and pictures for coloring.
Oh, that's fantastic. But Anna, when do they actually start interacting with other kids?
Not just yet, Julie. There's still more stages of play before we get into the interactions with other children.
Hmm.
So the next stage, Julie, is the onlooker or watching stage of play, where a child is just watching other children play.
But is that really play if they're just watching? Like, look at this image. This child looks so sad.
It's okay, Julie. It's still a stage of play. It's an important stage, too. It's important for the reason it develops a child's attention and memory when they observe. When your child watches other children, your child's taking note of what's going on. They see possibilities of how others might interact with objects, their environment, and other people. Also, the information that they get from watching others play can prepare them for the later stages of play.
Okay, Anna. So then what are some ideas that I can do to help my child learn while watching other children play?
Well, Julie, you can spend time in the park or play center, go for walks together. You can talk about what you see other children doing. You can also be the person playing and demonstrating and modeling how to interact or play with toys. If you're demonstrating how to play with toys, be sure to be really animated and show lots of enthusiasm so that you can get and keep their attention. Spending time reading or looking at books together can also be a good activity.
Okay, so they're actually not interacting with other children quite yet.
Not yet, but again, it's okay. They're still learning and developing skills. Let's talk about the next stage, parallel play. In this stage of play, children will play beside or near other children. Sometimes children are playing with the same materials, and sometimes they're playing with different materials. During this play, there's little or no interaction between children. For example, they might be playing with blocks, but not building a structure together. Each child would be building their own structure independently. Another example would be coloring side by side, but not coloring on the same drawing together. This stage of play is important even if children are playing with different toys. It can also boost confidence and build trust. The child is showing that they're comfortable to be beside you or beside another child.
So it sounds like you're saying that it allows our child to feel comfortable with others in their space while they're engaged in an activity. Okay, so then how do you encourage a child to play beside or near other children?
Well, it might take some time for your child to develop that trust and that confidence. Just as suggested on the onlooker or watching stage, model that play in an animated way so that you can create interest for your child. You can make your own music using pots, pans, and kitchen utensils, but make sure to leave some extras for your child to try making the noise themselves. If your child plays with other children or siblings, they may become, or sorry, plays beside other children or siblings, they may become interested in what other children are doing. With building interest, they'll start to copy and imitate you or other children.
Wow, and there are so many different layers and foundational layers before they actually start interacting with other children. That's very important. That's very interesting.
Certainly, Julie, there's so many layers to consider. You're right about that. After parallel play, we start to see some interaction with peers in associative or social play.
So if I'm understanding correctly, in social play, children can play with the same activity or in the same area and begin to acknowledge the other children. They are aware, but they aren't playing with the same toys. And they're not working towards the same goals. Because I have to imagine that's because they haven't yet established rules or they can cooperate with each other because this is the first stage of social interaction. Huh. Children are actually playing in the same area, same activity sometimes, but there's not a lot of interaction between them.
You're right, Julie. There's not a lot of interaction between them, but this is when they may begin waiting their turn to play with the same toy and learn how to relate to each other. Sometimes their interactions can be positive or negative, but in the end, they begin the dance of social interaction here.
I see. Like times when they go along an obstacle course or play follow the leader. As they wait, they're just learning to take turns and consider how their own play affects the other person. If they all went on the obstacle course at the same time, it could be totally dangerous. This happens when they play at the playground or when we go to the park. I would imagine this is also where children learn to ask to share a toy with another child, or maybe even build a tower together with blocks. Is this also where we can start to expect them to play with toys like a dollhouse or in the kitchen?
We're still not quite there yet, Julie. But as you can see, many of these activities are the same. But if you watch it carefully, these activities build on each other as well as the development of play skills.
Okay, Anna, then so what's next?
Next is cooperative play. In this stage, children are full on cooperating with each other. They can play organized games, take turns, build on friendships, and socially engage with those around them. They begin some problem solving around toys, sharing, safety, etc.
Wow, I can understand why learning to play is so important. There are so many different foundational layers. And of course, even into adulthood, we're still learning those play skills. Oh my gosh, Anna, so much fun at this stage. There are so many ideas, lots of fun things that you can do at this stage. I can see myself creating a treasure hunt, hiding things around my home for my child to find, playing hide and go seek. I can dance and play music together, and also playing board games. That's a great opportunity for turn taking and also learning how to wait. And I think even just picking up a ball, right, and passing it back and forth to each other. Or actually, I can think that we can use things like bean bags or scarves that are sometimes easier to catch and pass. Okay, Anna, is there anything more advanced than this?
Of course, Julie, there's more. Finally, this is where we get to what you've been asking about. We get to the last stage where children are using their imagination and engage in pretend play.
Finally, this is where all the pretend kitchen play happens, right? They can use their imaginations to role play, to create and solve problems, make up rules, and this is the time to expand all their play skills.
Yes, for sure, Julie. With pretend play, we see the full array of development of play skills and the makings of problem solving skills, too.
Okay, so this is where their imaginations totally take the lead. They can be creative, they can encourage new ideas with less rules. Activities could include building a fort with cushions, blankets, pillows, and a big cardboard box is great for that. Role playing games, simple things like feeding the baby, brushing the baby's hair, pretending to answer the phone, maybe not pretending to brush this baby's hair because it does look like this baby doll doesn't have a lot of hair. You can also pretend a trip and go somewhere like a plane ride or a train ride or a car ride. I remember, Anna, one of the things that we loved to do was to take a car ride through the McDonald's drive-through. That was a lot of fun with my boys. You can also use household items to create a restaurant and order a meal. You can be a post office, or of course, have a tea party or plan a picnic. Playing dress up is always a favorite. Playing with cars, of course, and trains, and those little people and little animals. We can create some fantastic, fun scenarios.
That's for sure, Julie. So, Julie, at the end of the day, the easy part of play is knowing the stages of play. You can learn that by reading a book or listening to a presentation like ours. But the hard part of play is actually playing, the action of play.
So true. Sometimes, Anna, it seems so easy, but in this day and age where our children are just opting to just watch a screen, where they're constantly being entertained, or children are playing with electronic devices, and parents, we are just too busy to play. The action of play can take a lot of mental, physical, and emotional energy for families, especially mine. I have 4 boys.
It's a lot of boys, Julie. Yes, of course, that would take a lot of energy to keep up anyways, especially since we're all a little bit out of practice, especially me as an older adult, when it comes to playing and interacting with others.
Yes, and although at times my children don't immediately want to play with me, I think I have to entice them with things that they are interested in, and of course, become their play partners. When I think about my youngest, he loves movement. So we can play with a ball together for such a long time until we're both exhausted. But my second son, Simon, he's more quiet and likes to do things alone. And so sometimes I will go alongside quietly, ask a few questions, and just follow his lead, especially when he's in the kitchen.
That sounds amazing, Julie. Well, it is totally a great idea to set up the environment, as you said, and follow your child's lead.
But Anna, to be honest, our lives are so busy these days. It really is just so much easier for me to sit them in front of a screen and let them be entertained.
I understand. It's the same for me, Julie. Unplugging is something I need to work on too, because my phone can be my most constant distraction for sure. I think that I might try to set up a time, like a small time slot, where in our family schedule, before I forget again, that's like 10 minutes a day where I'm going to just engage in intentional play. The other thing I can do on a regular basis is whenever I get a play idea in my head, I can jot it down and keep a running list so that I'm not scrambling at the last minute trying to figure something out, especially since my children have gotten older and they've outgrown their toys at this point. Yeah, that's my ideas that I'm going to try.
Yeah, I think those are great things to um, put into our back pocket. And of course, Anna, I really love the word of making play intentional and then building that into our weekly routine. In our family, sometimes we like to pull out board games every Friday night. Puzzles, of course, are a great hit. And I can imagine how pulling out some of our old toys and revisiting them, like Lego, and recreating um, structures, that would be so great for their imagination. I really like ideas from these pictures too, like simply watering plants and gardening together and just getting outside together. I think it's fantastic. Okay, Anna, dare we talk about screens?
Well, screens, they're here to stay. So we should talk about them a little bit. Screens have replaced much of our playtime with children. They've changed drastically over the last 20 years, and many child development experts are linking too much screen time with disruptive behaviors.
Yeah, I recall there used to be some screen time guidelines for the various ages, but I think the suggestion now is that you create a screen time plan for your family that works. Also, all screen time is not the same. Like watching a movie together for 2 hours, not the same as live streaming or multiple streaming of YouTube videos or video gaming by themselves for 2 hours.
Okay, and don't forget also that the Canadian Association of Optometrists tells us about the 20-20-20 rule. And that's for every 20 minutes, you need to shift your eyes and look at an object 20 feet away for at least 20 seconds to relieve your eye strain.
Okay, that's a good one. And of course, screens should be avoided for at least 30 minutes before going to bed because it's way too stimulating. And set screen-free zones, such as at the table, during meals. Immediately after school is also a good screen-free time, and first thing in the morning. And of course, avoiding allowing screens in private areas such as the bathroom and the bedroom. My boys, they can sit on a toilet or in the washroom for hours with a screen in their hands. So setting screen time plans with my children has really helped me so that it's not a fight to turn off their devices.
For sure, and it's the same in my household too. Finally, let's go back and review some simple, toy-free, easy-peasy ways to play.
Yep, I love the ideas that don't need a lot of preparation or spending a lot of money to buy new toys. We can pull out those pots and pans, like you mentioned, and make a music band. We can play music and make noises. And I love that we can practice playing it really loud or playing it really soft. And I know that beating to a rhythm can also be very calming. Obstacle courses. This is great for building those gross motor skills and learning how to move our bodies. So we can pull out those chairs, pull out those blankets, find things to step up and over, crawl under, run around. There's so much fun that we can do just with what's in our homes.
For sure, Julie. I remember when my boys were younger, we loved making forts out of blankets or kitchen chairs. And then it was so quiet under the fort, it was perfect.
Anna, did you ever play dress up with your boys? What characters did they like to dress up as?
Absolutely. They would dress up as superheroes. It was a favorite game. We also like getting messy sometimes. I remember that bubbles were always a hit. We loved making big, giant bubbles outdoors. I even used bubbles to entice them to help wash dishes. Well, anyways, speaking about dishes and chores, have you ever tried to use your laundry basket for play?
Of course, this is how my littlest Levi learned how to shoot a basketball into the laundry basket first. It was also a great boat to go sailing in for row, row, row your boat. Wow, Anna, this list is so good.
I agree, Julie. These are amazing ideas that really help your child develop their play skills and so much more.
Okay, so on this slide, if you're curious to know more about play, we have included our TDSB OTPT website for our page on play. So if you would like, take a moment to shoot your camera at the QR code, or you can write this address down and it will take you to our page. We also have a QR code on a handout on play, and it really pretty much goes over everything that we have talked about today in our presentation.
So we'll give you a few more seconds to jot it down or take your screenshots.
And I think we can stop the recording now if anybody has any questions or comments. And that way we can keep it confidential.
Perfect. Thank you, Julie.
Thanks, Anna.